What is happening, my YouTube family? Of course, it is your boy B New coming at you on this Monday morning. First and foremost, as always, just want to send out positive vibrations and love to everybody who could be listening. I want to go ahead and get right into it this morning. As we all know, the Los Angeles Lakers was on the third game of their homestand, opened the season against the Memphis Grizzlies, who were on the second night of a back-to-back after having already defeated the Los Angeles Clippers on the previous day. Now, it was a hell of a game. It went back and forth. It was at least 13 lead changes, about 7 or 8 different ties, and really the game was so close because of a one Ja Morant. And like I said before, before the season started, we saw what Ja Morant did last year in the play-in game and being able to lead his team to the playoffs, even though they could not stand up to a team as great as the Utah Jazz. I don't know if anybody remembers how great the Utah Jazz were last year and the start that they got out to. They were looking like the 2016 Golden State Warriors up until Donovan Mitchell got hurt, because if Donovan Mitchell doesn't get hurt, I dare say that the Utah Jazz, and Conley was hurt as well too, let's not forget that. I dare say the Utah Jazz was well on their way to playing in the finals and probably defeating the Phoenix Suns. But anyway, man, a lot of things that we can point out during that game. The Lakers got a much-needed win, of course, and a lot of that was due to Carmello Anthony playing such a great game. Now, we knew Melo was set to have a game like this, and that's why it's great to have somebody with the scoring prowess of a Carmello Anthony coming off of your bench. And it also shows you how great LeBron James is, considering they in the same draft class, even though Melo is a little older and did have a year at Syracuse, and LeBron came straight out of high school. But at the end of the day, doesn't take away from the greatness that is Carmello Anthony. And he was hot last night. Anytime he got the ball, anytime the ball touched his hand, he was ready to shoot maybe 1 or 2 dribbles and then pop. That's just what he's been doing his whole career, more than capable of. And to me, that's what makes the Lakers really such a dangerous team. The Lakers are such a dangerous team because, think about this, on any given night, you have 4 different players who are capable of at least, that's capable of giving you a 30-point game. I'm not saying all of them had it at the same time. My point is, you should never have to struggle too much for offense, even though you haven't even built team cohesiveness and chemistry yet. Now think about this. The Lakers have Westbrook. He's capable of giving you 30 on any given night. LeBron, of course, is already giving you 30 this season on a given night. And so has Anthony Davis already giving you a plus 30 game. So it's not going to be difficult for the Lakers to go find offense. Melo is a great player. He did move into 9th all time. He moved into 9th all time yesterday, passing the great Moses Malone, who was on my list, I believe, at number 19 or 20th as the great as my list that I've been doing, which I haven't forgot about. I will be unveiling the rest of that list this week, so please stay tuned in. But as far as last night is concerned, LeBron James took a big scare in the first half. Somebody rolled into his ankle pretty bad, and it was cause of Dwight Howard. If you really pay attention, fouling and giving too much contact to the, forget who the player was, but basically knocked him into LeBron James. Dwight Howard, be careful down there. If LeBron James is anywhere in the vicinity, watch your ass out. Because that's something we do not need for LeBron James to go down. And when you talking about the air went out of the arena, but when he got up and walked it off, it was a good thing to see. But I think it still was a little sore to him, though, because he didn't look himself the rest of the game, even though he did hit 2 big shots in the fourth quarter, 2 big threes in the fourth quarter. Although I would have liked to see him have the ball more down the stretch. It was more so the ball was in the hands of Russell Westbrook, which he is getting paid a lot of money and he is the point guard. So he was trying to create, but he just ended up turning the ball over a couple times and took not such a great shot that luckily Carmello Anthony was able to rebound and to lay right in, which that was good. But there was no Rondo last night, and that made me wonder too, with Ja having such a good game, you would think that maybe they would try to switch it up and get Rondo in there on him. But Russell Westbrook played a lot of minutes. But if you look at the Lakers starters, all the Lakers starters were in plus minus. and all the bench was in plus. And I think Malik Monk and even Carmello was like plus 19 compared to the Lakers starters, which, you know, they were staggered with one another. So it's not like, oh, they just take all the starters out and put in all the bench players. So you can take from that what you will. But at the end of the day, I said in my pregame that a lot of it was going to come down to free throws, because everything seemed to me on paper so evenly matched, because the Grizzlies are that team now, even though people think that they are not. But on paper, everything seems so evenly matched to me, and it did come down to free throws, especially the last free throw that Ja Morant missed, which kind of took away from his game, because the overtime game would have been phenomenal just to watch. But Ja Morant is really coming into his own. Y'all all know LeBron James is my favorite player, but I'm telling you what, Ja Morant is quickly became my second favorite player in the league because of what he's able to do. And I'm telling you what, during that play-in game last year, I think I was down in Miami. Matter of fact, I know I was down in Miami at the time because I was at Tootsie's, and they had it playing on the screen. And I guess some little dudes that got mad at me because I was going for the Memphis Grizzlies, and they probably like, well, do you got money on it? Why are you worried about Memphis? But I guess they didn't recognize, you know what I'm saying? You had a true Southern Tennessee person right off in Tootsie's watching the game. And yes, of course, I did also make money off of it as well. But Ja Morant played better than Steph Curry on that night. Ja Morant has worked on his three-point shooting during the offseason. You can tell he has vastly improved at any weakness in his game. He's always worked to improve on and has done so. LeBron James did step up in the fourth quarter last night. He had eight points and 4 assists in that fourth quarter. Like I said, he hit 2 very timely threes. So even though the ankle probably wasn't the best, by him being able to hit those threes, I think was very crucial at the times that he did hit them, just to keep the Lakers, when the Grizzlies was really pushing to take the lead, to really keep the Lakers in position to win the game. Now, one thing I did, man, look at this. See, people just do not know how to drive. Now, one thing I did notice about the Lakers' schedule, I know everybody said it was so bad, 0-2 and everything. And I know this one victory does not a season make, just like 2 losses does not a season make. But the next 6 or 7 games should be winnable games for the Lakers. They're going to have OKC twice in the home and away. They're going to have Houston twice in the home and away. And if I'm not mistaken, they're going to play Cleveland. So all of those are winnable games. They should definitely beat Houston. They should definitely beat OKC both times. Cleveland is looking okay, but they should definitely beat Cleveland. So games that are winnable games, you just have to go ahead and win. Austin Reeves came in and had a good game last night too. And I've been high on Austin Reeves, and I'm just thinking when Wayne Ellington, Trevor Ariza, THT, and all these players get back, you probably won't see much of Austin Reeves. But if he can continue to play on-ball defense the way he played last night, and I tell y'all what, like, Bazemore been playing really good defense, but that just goes to show you how great Ja Morant was playing last night. And he really reminds me of an Allen Iverson, because he's not big and he take punishment. He's not afraid of going to the cup. I mean, he only 6'1", but he's so acrobatic when he go in the air to switch it, reverse lay-ins, whatever you need, very high off the glass. He is going to make it happen. If he has to get a bucket, he will get that bucket. I'm afraid I don't have all the time in the world that I would like to discuss this morning, because I'm just really at a time crunch. But I do want to finish that list. But one thing I did want to touch on, because I got somewhere I really need to be. But one thing I really did need to touch on was yesterday, of course, which I made a video yesterday regarding the loss of the Brooklyn Nets. But it's one thing that I did fail to speak of, and I said Harden. I know I said that Harden was pretty much trying to share the ball a little bit too much, and passed up some shots because maybe he was trying to get teammates involved. But what I also noticed was James Harden only got to the free throw line maybe just one time, if I'm not mistaken. And by him only getting to the free throw line one time, it shows me that the rule changes that they had in effect is kind of affecting Harden. Now, Steve Nash did come out and say that, you know, these rules are not fair, and they making Steve Nash actually quote, and I say this is actually exactly what he said. Steve Nash said that James Harden is becoming the poster child of these foul rule changes, which, I may have to beg and differ on that. They pretty much calling for everybody. It's just affecting him more because so much of his game was centered around that. And players always adapt and get better, so I don't think that it's going to affect James. And he's going to still continue to be the great scorer that he's always has been. So I really don't think that it's going to be that big of a deal for James. But so far, I would say it is kind of affecting him in his own words. He said he didn't. He said that it was just some bad calls. There was fouls either way, regardless. But basically what the rule changes is if you as an offensive player are initiating a lot of the contact, then you're just not going to get those calls. They're not calling offensive fouls, so be happy that they still are allowing you to be aggressive and create contact and be physical. You just need to finish because you're not going to necessarily get those same foul calls you get when you go throwing your body into somebody. And that's just being real. Just like Shaq. I know a lot of people may not remember, but, Shaq for years just bagged people down. I'm talking about Shaq used to come down, wham, wham. I mean, one time they said, I promise you, I wish I could find it somewhere, but I'd never forget. It looked like the Dikembe Mutombo fouled Shaq elbow with his face because Shaq was backing him down. It was in that finals. Wham! Wham! He just steadily backing him down. Wham! And they calling fouls. And you knocking the next man off of his position. So how could it be a foul on them? But yet, it was called like that for a long time. And the way I look at this is Shaq, he kind of adapted to it. But that last year, when the Lakers lost to the Pistons before Shaq's eventual departure, you could tell it was having an impact on his game. It was making him upset. But, rules change and things like that. And I'm not necessarily saying there was a rules change, but the league just kind of started calling that a little bit differently. And Shaq, as big as he is, took a lot of punishment over the years because you'd be surprised. People used to just foul, blast Shaq. And they like, it don't matter because he big. And LeBron kind of get that same treatment too because he don't get a lot of the calls because he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt that he's a very big player, But at the end of the day, it is what it is. I know the Lakers definitely needed that victory. And now that they're going to be on the road for these next 7 games, they're going to have a home. They're going to have a home and home at Houston, and home against OKC. But while they are on the road, hopefully to give them some time to build some team continuity with one another. Just being on the road, when you're at home and you're in LA, a lot of times you're not going to spend all that time together. But when you're on the road, different players do different things. Some players just might sit up in their room and play video games, but then you got others who want to get out and bond, and not just bond on that kind of level, but also, in practice and watching film and things like that. So at the end of the day, like I said from the very beginning, I was never worried about the Lakers. I'm still not worried about the Lakers. And one last thing I want to touch on that I think really made a difference for the game was the rebounding. And that's really what kept Memphis in the game. Memphis had 13 more rebounds than the Lakers, and they had 13 more extra shots than the Lakers. So that ought to let you know something right there. If they're outscoring them, then they are going to, if they getting more rebounds, then they getting more opportunities, and that's exactly what they did. So with that being said, it was a great game to watch. I think it was an instant classic for myself. And as always, man, your boy will be back, with the countdown. But I just want to say right on to the real, and much love to these haters. I'm up out.